in-depth discussions on everything from the court to the field, mixed with the business and culture that orbit the sports world. Whether it's the latest blockbuster trade or the societal impact of sports.
If you hear an echo, give me a thumbs up.
Two-Man Off with your hosts, Van Nunley and Fred Slow, with producer Isaiah Johnson on 95.9 FM and AM 610. The Sports Animal.
Hey, yo. What it is, Duke City. The boys are live from the Duke's team store here in the Nob Hill Shopping Center. Friends of the show, sorry for some tech diffs. New machinery today. Testing out some new digs.
It's looking pretty fancy.
Yeah, it is. It's got fun, bright buttons. Zay, back at the studio. Let's just test this thing out as we're going along. Let's get weird with it. How does it sound?
It sounds wonderful.
It sounds wonderful on your end.
Yes.
Okay, good.
It sounds wonderful.
We are a little tinny in my ears. Do I sound a tiny bit echoey, like I'm talking through a can?
Okay, how about now?
I think you sound great.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. That's what I needed out of today. Some positive affirmations. Anyways, here we go. Thanks for bearing with us, friend of the show. You're listening to 2 Men On, 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. The boys are live from the Duke's team store, Nob Hill Shopping Center. And look, special deal from right now, 4:04, I guess, to whenever we're going to stop this program, which I think is at 6. Going straight to Lobo Talk, Zay. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Excellent. So from now until 6 o'clock, down at the Duke's team store, me personally, not the Duke's team store, Van Nunley, co-host of 2 Men On, out of the kindness of my heart and my love of the brand. Rep the brand, baby. 10% off all merch inside the store.
That's awesome.
Steve Palmisano joining us, owner-operator of the Duke's team store. He doesn't like it, but since it's coming back out of my pocket, he's going to get it on the back end anyways.
Great.
Speaking of the back end, he swung his back end off last Friday at Home Run Derby X. Bomb dropper and fantasy football extraordinaire, Jared Gay joining us on the program. Welcome back, brother.
Thank you. Tuesdays are turning out to be one of my favorite days of the week.
So,
I love doing this.
How's the reception with the friends and family? Like, do they enjoy hearing you on the program? Do they tune in live, or you're like, now we'll catch you on Apple or
They pretty much
Spotify?
do it after. So I send them the link. I had a lot of my buddies in New York who I'm drafting with this weekend. They said, you got to give us the link. I'm like, I'm not giving you my tips until after the draft. Don't do that. But no,
this is the first look at your picks. Huh?
Exactly. So you guys get the first scoop. So today Simon and I, he couldn't make it, but we agreed on about 5 or 6 guys that we think are the absolute must-haves. And I think it's really good info. So this will definitely not be given to my league mates until after the draft.
A lot of fantasy talk all day today on the program. Steve Palmisano, I'm so stoked for all of your hot takes.
Oh, man, I live in the fantasy world.
Yes, you do. That's a different fantasy world. That one's up north a little bit.
That's what I thought we were doing.
We're talking a lot of fantasy on the program today with myself, Steve Palmisano, Jared Gay, and, of course, Zay Johnson back at the Zoom studio. Zay, thanks for all the hard work, man, while we're figuring this out.
Yeah, of course. I got on and gave the friends of the show a marvelous intro. Kept them all tuned.
In true live radio fashion, this is how it works. Got in here an hour early, made sure the equipment was set up right like we did it earlier. 45 minutes. Got it set up in 15 minutes. 45 minutes of sweet, sweet freedom to hang out, calls, text, emails, check on my Instagram, do whatever I need to get ready for this program. And then 5 minutes before, kaput. Of course it happens 5 minutes before we go on air, but we're back here with you, and I think we're going to be here the whole time, good Lord willing, till 6. Before we jump into the fantasy, Jared, I want to talk about your experience at Home Run Derby X. Dude, let's address the elephant in the room first. You got to drop bombs with MLB legend Manny Ramirez.
Oh my gosh. And I played with a lot of Latin players, and he is the perfect testament to both sides of who they are. They're the most humble players you're going to play with. And at the same time, they know how good they are, but they will never tell you. Manny's biggest line he dropped was, "I don't know why I'm here. I'm a line drive hitter." And Manny, there are 14 guys to play the game of Major League Baseball that have more home runs than you. Okay, I'm like, you are the home run hitter.
Yeah.
And I know he said to you, I think it's quote to you, or I think it was maybe the Journal. He said, in the game time, I'll let it rip, and I know that's my swing. But man, he's the nicest guy, and you got to talk to him too. I think.
Yeah, we got to hang out with him a couple times, man. Had a lot of fun with him right here on the program. We had an outpour of people who were disappointed that they didn't get to hear the interview, so we played it again last night at the end of the program. And if you ever look, friend of the show, if you ever miss anything on this program, at Talk ABQ on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcast, or you can just Google 2 Men On or Talk ABQ. We're everywhere. We're absolutely everywhere. But one thing I really liked about him was what you mentioned, his humility.
Yeah.
Like, because he's like, oh man, I had so many players coming up to me and like they're telling me like I was a big influence on them when they were younger, and I didn't know like I was that big of an influence on people. And I was like, today's the day that you learn that. You've been doing this for 2 decades. You've been an ambassador to baseball for another decade after that. And then one Friday night on Home Run Derby X in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the lab. This is when you figured it all out, Manny?
Oh my gosh! I mean, he got to work with Jeremy Nowak, who a lot of people know. He's the swing man on Instagram, 400,000 followers. I got to talk with him a lot. I saw him when we went out to dinner. I'm like, I know who you are, dude. I'm like, I've been following you for years. And he worked with Manny. Like, he was telling Manny how to do things with his swing, which was super cool because Jeremy knows his stuff so well. And Manny he's open to everything. If you think if your Manny's telling you how to swing, you're like, hey, come on, like I know what I'm doing. He would never do that. He wants to hear because he's still trying to get better. He's not even playing anymore. He's been playing for a decade. He's amazing, and just what a player.
Well, I mean, let's not get too excited. We're both wearing Yankees hats.
I saw this video on social media where he was walking through like a store and he went up to this couple. They were younger, looked like a little younger than me. And the guy had a Boston Red Sox hat on, and he's like, "Hey, I like your hat." And the dude turns around, and like the girl looks at him like they're looking at him like he's like a weirdo. And he's like, "I like your hat. Who's your favorite player?" And then the guy, like I think the guy said, like, "I don't really have one." He's like, "Oh, okay, cool," and just walks off.
Oh no! How embarrassing!
Yeah,
Like you could tell he did it on purpose, just because like a lot of times people will do that for the fun of it. They'll just walk up to somebody wearing like a team jersey that they played for, like, oh yeah, that's a cool shirt.
Or if it's literally, I know Jason Varitek did the same thing. He went up to the guy and talked to him. He goes, yeah, I love Jason Varitek. He's literally talking to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. I mean, Manny looks like a really regular dude.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised that happened at all.
I was wondering. He was sitting down during the when he was sitting down during the interview. Did you guys were people noticing and trying to stop by, or were they just kind of going about their day and didn't even realize
everyone stopped? There was a whole including it was right when we were interviewing Manny, there was all the security and the APD who worked that event were all there having a meeting behind home plate right next to us. So it was 20-ish cops, 20-ish baseball fans, the whole gaggle of people, his whole PR team, all of his handlers. So we had this little scrum around us while we're doing the interview.
Nice.
It was fun.
I was talking with Manny, and we were riding in on the low riders, and I look at him and I tell him, I've been talking to this guy for, 8 hours already in that day. And I go, I'm like, we were talking about teams. I'm like, just so you know, I grew up a Yankee fan. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I am still a Yankee fan.
Nice.
So it made me feel better. He was in New York for a long time. He lived there. He played there.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a big time Yankee fan. So it made me feel a lot better. I'm like, I hated you when you played. I'm like, but I love you now.
Yeah.
The Manny being Manny attitude, that whole vibe, that whole swagger, that whole energy he has, you felt it immediately. It was, I mentioned this before on the program, but I try not to be starstruck by the people we have on the program. We've had, not only athletes, but, actors, musicians, whatever on the program. And you want to treat somebody with dignity and respect. Treat them like another person, treat them like a human being, and they'll usually respond accordingly. But there's this little sense of dude, you've been watching Manny Ramirez played baseball since you were 10 years old. Like, this is a wild feeling. Like, you've been a fan of his. Like, you watched his whole career, and this dude is sitting next to you. So there's, like, just this little bit of element of butterflies, like, hanging out with somebody like that. But that's just me sitting next to him and asking questions. You were playing with them, dude. Like, what was it like in warm-ups? Like, was there, like, an extra sense of nervousness? Like, you know, you got to perform in front of, like, what was it, 12,000 people at Isotopes Park? But, like, is the only person you cared about their opinion Manny Ramirez the whole time you're trying to swing the bat?
I mean, he's like so nice. All he's doing is hype me up.
Nice.
I mean, he's just like, he goes, dude, he goes, you're swinging great. You know, he never would go. He made it seem like I'm better than him.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. No, I didn't really feel any added pressure. You know, same thing, Jocelyn Ello.
Sure.
She's just as much of a beast.
Stud.
Oh my gosh. So no, it was so casual. You got to know everybody. The butterflies and the nervousness to perform in front of them went away really quickly. It was really just, I wanted to perform just for who I was. You know?
Sure.
I had to put up, you know, I had more points than him. So that was crazy.
You beat me to it. I was just about to mention that. Like, you outscored a guy who hit 555 home runs in Major League Baseball, the all-time leader in playoff home runs. You outperformed him. And you put on an absolute show.
Thank you.
So, you were dropping bombs all the way into the kids' playground. I think a couple of them went all the way over the playground fence. And then heartbreaker, Connor Mang steps up and he puts on a show too. Were you sitting there like just the world lifted off your shoulders because you put on such an awesome show, and then you got to sit there and watch Connor like minutes after crush your dreams?
It was, I mean, doing so well. I wasn't hurt that we lost because he came out. I mean, it was a joke. He hit like every single ball up. He was amazing. So it sucked a little bit because I know that if we had went on, we probably would have won.
Sure.
Manny was just getting going. Jocelyn was good. I mean, if I had another round, it would have been the same. But yeah, it was a little heartbreaking. But I mean, all of us showed out. We had the highest team score aside from his.
Compare crowd sizes. Was the crowd size like much bigger than like compared to your playing days? Were you looking like, okay, that's a lot of people? Were you used to it?
Yeah.
So
typically I was around 800 to 1,000 if I'm lucky. That would be high. But then when I was in the American, typically 5,000-6,000. I saw one day where we got to 9, but the stadium was small, so it seemed so packed.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing that part never really fazed me. It didn't. I mean, I knew 50 people in the stands, like friends. Okay. So it was like that added a little pressure, but it was a lot of people. It was so much fun. So much fun.
And you're talking like the hitting coach there working with Manny, and that was to like adjust the swing and adjust like your contact plane, right? Because instead of like a full 90-degree baseball field, you're only working with 60 degrees. So like you're trying to pop them straight away. And for a power hitter, that's a big adjustment, right?
Yeah, I mean, Manny is such a line drive guy. You saw him; he was just playing catch at the middle of the field, right there, right in that target zone. He was so good. So, no, you really had to control it. I mean, I pulled one and I absolutely crushed it. It was foul; it didn't count. But on a real baseball field, it's an absolute home
run. Yeah, for sure.
So that was a big adjustment. It was a lot of fun, but it just really made you stay in the middle. You could not cheat. You had to stay true to a middle swing.
Before we go to break and we start talking fantasy football and what else, everything that's going on in the world of sports and sports adjacent content, what's been the reception like from the friends and family and coworkers and all of your new fans out in the community?
Yeah, I mean, they warned me we'd get a little bit of clout, you know? I mean, I gained like 60 Instagram followers.
Just like that a second ago.
Yeah, just like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that's what happened. I had people, multiple Eastern New Mexico University alums, messaging me, and like they were so happy. They're like, oh, we're so proud that like someone from our school was there. And then I had high schoolers and like 13-year-old like guys telling me like, dude, you showed out, you were amazing. I hit them up, and I'm like, usually you don't get like people to respond to you, but I was in their shoes at one point. Someone's like, oh, thank you so much, like glad you had fun. So that's been really sweet. I'm still waiting for the pictures from the Isotopes, so I should get those tomorrow. So
how about calls or emails from like some teams or like, hey man, we need a big power hitter in the middle of the lineup. What are you doing next summer?
Yankees said Judge gets hurt.
That's where that hat came from. Like they mailed you that hat immediately.
You just got that fire Instagram post pending.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be
loading up. My name is Jared Gay, and I hit dingers.
More fantasy analysis from Jared Gay, and Isaiah and Steve tell you why you take CeeDee Lamb over Christian McCaffrey with the #1 overall pick when we get back. You're listening to 2 Men On, 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. Welcome back to the program, Duke City. Listen to 2 Men On, 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. Talking fantasy sports, want to get you ready for your draft. Have you had your draft already? 505-246-0610. What are your big regrets from your draft? Are you a self-loathing fantasy hater? We will out you on this program. So before we dive into like the sleepers and the Hail Marys at the end of the draft, let's just start right at the top, Jared, and let's talk about the first pick. So historically in fantasy, I've been a get a for sure thing, good running back, bell cow back. If you can get one of those guys, that's the foundation of a good fantasy team. But that's not necessarily the game plan anymore, because some of these stud wide receivers are getting the volume and the points that old bell cow running backs used to get.
Now, Van, I'm going to ask you because I know my view on this. If you had the first pick,
Yeah.
are you truly looking and skipping Christian McCaffrey?
I can't. No, I can't.
That's what my question. So
No, I can't.
You're totally right. So many great receivers: Hill, Lamb, Chase, Amon-Ra. I mean, you can take any of these guys; they're all going to be so good. But every year you come across multiple wide receivers, 10th, 11th round, who you didn't even know who they were before the season, and they end up being such a good piece for your team. If I had the first pick, I'm probably taking McCaffrey because I'm not going to be able to live with myself because he's going to be exactly what he was unless he's hurt. So, but you're totally right. I have nothing wrong with going a different route, going wide receiver instead.
Like Christian McCaffrey, like 15 carries, 5 receptions, and a touchdown. That's a bad game for him.
It's the baseline.
That's a bad game for him. And that's like a fantastic performance from your 3rd, 4th, 5th round guys. Like that's the high end of what you expect. That's a bad game for Christian McCaffrey. The only thing is how often in his career has he been hurt? You're sitting there with that number 1 overall pick where you're like, it's got to be McCaffrey, but you still have that fear.
Because he's hurt you before.
He's hurt you before.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
And because I think we're at the point where he's had, was it back-to-back years where he's played pretty much the whole season. And now it's like, nah, he can't do it to me. He won't get hurt now. I mean, he is older. I want to say he's 28 or 29. He's going to fall off. Every guy does. And like I said, I have no objection to someone going a different route, younger, healthier wide receiver. A little bit more of a sure thing. But McCaffrey, if he's healthy, you pretty much win your league, assuming you don't bomb the rest of your season.
I mean, that's the point, right? Like your first pick, it's very important that you get a good guy and he performs to a first-round pick level, but you have the whole rest of the round. So you could make up for missing out on your McCaffrey or your CD. Let's say one of these guys get hurt. If you draft well enough, you can make up for a first-round pick. But if McCaffrey goes down, you're like immediately in a bad spot.
Yeah, you just need to make sure you grab running back. It was Elijah Mitchell. I actually don't know who it is now. Mitchell just won a season in the IR. So if you grab McCaffrey, make sure you're grabbing the correct backup to handcuff him. You don't win your draft. You don't win the league by having a good draft. You have to be good all season. You can certainly lose it.
Right.
If you want to make weird decisions because you have the suspicion somebody's going to get hurt, that's when you end up losing your season because you're going, man, I have the 3rd pick. I'm taking Justin Jefferson because he's so good. But he should go a little farther back. You need to make the safe decisions in the draft, and you'll adjust throughout the season.
All right, so after McCaffrey, do you think CeeDee Lamb is a no-doubt number 2, or do you have someone else ranked there?
No, I definitely go Lamb. Age, contract, gonna get the ball. Again, I have no problem going Tyreek Hill above him, but you can take Lamb 1, so he's a very safe bet at 2.
Especially since they're moving him to running back.
Yeah.
Receiver and backup quarterback. He might play some defense as well because Dallas has a few holes to fill.
Probably make some popcorn before the game, sell some beers, anything they can to recoup some money on that contract. Zay, do you have any drafts left? I mean, can you make a case to take your boy CD over McCaffrey for number 1?
Yeah, I can. And the reason why I can is I believe CD is going to go for 2,000. Now, I'm not the best with the fantasy numbers, but I can look up real fast. I don't know what CD had. I did see McCaffrey was 3rd amongst all players last year, and he was averaging 24.5 per game. If I had to bet, I would put some money that CD may be one of the people that was above him, and if not, it was close. But I think he'll have a better year than last year. Again, if you look at his first 4 games last year, leading up to the 49ers and counting the 49ers, I don't think he cracked 100. If he did, it was once. So he had a really, really slow beginning to the season, and he still was really close to cracking 2,000. So I got 2,000 yards for CD, and I would assume that should generate more fantasy points than McCaffrey if he is able to pull that off.
No, so I'm looking at his numbers right now. You obviously have a great memory. One of the first 5 games, he cracked 77 yards. And he had 4 catches in 4 of those games. The other one, he had 11. So a brutal start. And he had a couple of games where he was down, in the 50 yards. But he was good because he scored a touchdown. There's no reason he can't go for 2,000. He should. He was at 1749 last year, and he had so much up and down. Yeah, he made up for it with the big games. If your belief is he can go for 2,000, you take him first. It's who you believe in.
Yeah, I think he's got a good head on his shoulders too. I don't think he's the type of guy to get the bag and just fall off.
No.
I think he's going to be the CeeDee Lamb that we've expected. I think he's going to peak this year. Obviously, with all that money, the whole coaching staff, the whole front office is going to say, keep feeding him the ball, Dak. He's our guy. We need our money's worth. Keep feeding him the ball. But more importantly, back to the original point is I think he wants to be one of the greats. I think he's hungry. I think he really wants to prove it. And I don't think just because he got the bag, he's going to fall off. I think it's going to drive him even more. Jared, is there anybody in the first round, say the first 10 or 12 picks, that you think are not worthy of a first round pick?
Ooh, that's tough. In the first, I'll just pick 2. Of course, I'm not saying these guys aren't great, but since you put me on it, I know A.J. Brown is great. A.J. Brown scares me. They paid Devontae Smith. They got Barkley there. Jalen Hurts is not a high-volume passer. Again, this is not a knock on him, but if I can avoid him, I am in the back end of the first. And Justin Jefferson, same thing, ranked 4th at the moment. If I'm picking 9th or 10th and Jefferson's there, I'm taking him.
Yeah.
But I'm not taking him 4th. I'm not taking him 5th. I'm not taking him 6th. Or not even 7th. You got to let him fall. Who knows? Maybe they get a different quarterback. If you're telling me Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, and whoever else plays quarterback is going to get him to 1,500 yards, that's going to be half their passing yards for the season.
I agree. Yeah. Into the first round, I love Justin Jefferson 8 or 9 or after.
Yeah.
8, 9 after, I think it's justified just because his talent. His looks are going to be there. They're going to keep chunking it his way.
Yeah.
How accurate are the passes going to be when they get somewhere close to him? I think the first 8 are a sure thing. I don't know what your rankings look like, but I got McCaffrey, Lamb, Cheetah, Jamar, Sun God, Breece Hall, Bijan, and Jetta. Yeah. I think those in that order is super safe. And I have a lot of problems with the next 4, 5, 6 guys after that. A.J. Brown, you got Devonta in town. Now you got Jahan in town, who I think is more talented than he's played.
I totally agree. First round pick. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. He's more talented. I don't think A.J. is going to get the lion's share of the looks or touches, so I can't justify him being that high in the first round. And then right behind him, I got Garrett Wilson. And look, we know Aaron Rodgers loves his number 1 wide receiver. Historically, he has fed the ball to his number 1 wide receiver over and over again. And he's the undisputed number 1, but still, he's still young and unproven. And then Aaron Rodgers, how long is Aaron Rodgers going to be around? Is that golden Achilles going to be around any longer? Is this magic ayahuasca doctor or whatever experimental surgery he had? Is this going to be a factor in how he plays football? I don't know. If we keep going down a little bit, Jahmyr Gibbs, I like this pick around here. Jahmyr Gibbs around 10 or 12.
Yeah.
I think that's safe-ish. Jonathan Taylor around there. I think that's safe-ish. But the next guy down, Puka.
I'm so scared of Puka.
No, thank you.
If
you can take a chance.
If he was fully healthy, and he's been dropping. He was at where Garrett Wilson, A.J. Brown were.
Yeah.
Then he got hurt, and I think he'll be fine. But then you get all this Cooper Kupp hype.
Sure.
Cooper Kupp, outside of 1 season.
Stud.
Yeah. So, are we really thinking he's not going to be healthy? He easily could be a first-round caliber player by the end of the year.
Right.
He could outplay Puka, just like he was in the beginning of last year. So, no, you nailed it. I really like Garrett Wilson because there's less competition. Rodgers is probably going to throw it a little bit more than Jalen Hurts. So why not take Wilson over A.J. Brown?
I would. Yeah.
And that's right where Justin Jefferson should be going. I do like all these running backs here. I'm not a big Marvin Harrison fan at this point of his ranking. 14th overall, that's crazy. Kyron Williams, I like, but you're right. Puka, you taking Devontae Adams or you taking Puka?
I'm taking Devontae.
There you go.
100. Give me the sure thing every time.
Yeah.
I feel like the quarterback disrespect is starting to get wild. It seems like I'm thinking of a Lamar Jackson, and I'm like, come on, this is a guy who, he's got Derrick Henry, and they will run the ball more. but also imagine the defense has to worry about Derrick Henry now too. So I wouldn't be surprised. Lamar last year, it says he averaged 20 per game, 20.70 per game. It wouldn't shock me if he was the number one QB this year in fantasy.
Yeah,
I think he's going to have an outstanding regular season.
And if he very well could be, he's more protected with a better running back and good options in the passing game. He easily could. Absolutely not going to argue with on that. And if he is, then he's worth taking in the third round. I mean, I know it's highest point score. Yeah, early third. Right now, Josh Allen's rating 22, Mahomes 30. You take Lamar right in that area. I'm not arguing with you. Again, it's who you believe in. Because if you're saying he could be number 1 and he is number 6, then that was a really bad pick. But
so those quarterbacks are just absolutely non-draftable first round. Like there's not one quarterback who you could assume, like say you guess how the season could go and look in hindsight. Is there one QB where you could be like, okay, I probably should have taken him?
I'll tell you what, Say, let's answer that quarterback question and all the other quarterback questions when we get back from the break. All the way up until the 5 o'clock hour, we are talking fantasy with Isaiah Johnson and Jared Gay. Fred is out of town. He's at a conference. He will be back soon. Hey, he don't know nothing about fantasy anyway.
He does not.
We'll get back to Fred when we're back on Sports Adjacent. All fantasy talk, all the rest of the hour, 5 o'clock hour. We're going to hit you with some NFL roundtable. We'll catch you up what's going on in the world of sport. 5:45, we got Josh Sushan joining us to talk Isotopes baseball. And, of course, we'll have our I-9 varsity, our 66 Diner Blue Plate special moment, and our Isham Dental soundbite of the day, all in the 5 o'clock hour. When we get back, talking more fantasy quarterbacks. You're listening to 2 Men On, 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored.
Mike's hot.
Welcome back, Duke City. Welcome back to Two Men On. Welcome back to 95.9 FM, AM 610, Esports Animal. Before we left you for the break, we started talking about fantasy quarterbacks. And I have some pretty strong thoughts on fantasy quarterbacks. And I've kind of been stuck here for like a decade that unless you're in a 2-quarterback league, quarterbacks don't matter like you think they do.
Yep.
Save it. Save it for later. Jared, where do you stand on this?
I totally agree. And I know Zay hit it before. He was asking, how early do you go? Even if you think these guys are going to be the number one quarterback, which if you think that's the case, you're giving yourself absolutely zero room for error. None. So if you want Lamar, you take him around 3. I understand it. And you're going to play in a lot of leagues where people are like, oh, they're the highest point scorer. You got to grab the quarterback. Yes, but then you end up having a guy like Tua who at like last year you could get at the end.
Sure.
And he led the league in passing.
Yeah, this year too.
And exactly. I mean, he's going in the 10th or 11th round right now. Jared Goff, Jay Daniels, Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, Kyle Murray, Dak Prescott. You're not unhappy with any of those guys.
Right.
And guess what? They're going after you already drafted 3 running backs and 3 wide receivers.
Right.
Like in the past 5 years, has there been a guy? Like, has there been any guy recently that's like not here anymore that was consistent enough, or is this just impossible for the position to make it into the first round? Like, is there a guy historically we're like, okay, that guy I would take the first round?
For years, I ate and ate and ate because of dudes like Matt Stafford and Matt Ryan. Like these good, steady, consistent quarterbacks that are going somewhere between 8 and 12 quarterback off the board. There's like a little happy zone there where they're not going to overperform. They're not going to be Allen or Mahomes, but they're not going to underperform and be like your Daniel Jones or your Bryce Young or whatever. There's like a happy zone in the middle where they'll put up quarterback numbers of points. And since you get them in the 7th, 8th round, whatever, like you said, Jared, you can get 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a tight end. Your starters are full before you even get your quarterback.
Oh, exactly. And so, Zay, to answer your question, you're not going round 1. You're not going round 2. There are leagues where you can play 2 quarterbacks, and you're going to see that is where you take quarterbacks round 1.
Sure.
2-quarterback league. Because the same thing, if this was if you had leagues where there are 2 tight ends, you see tight ends go a lot higher. So as you add a number to a position, 2 wide receiver, 3 wide receiver, maybe multiple flex, those positions gain more value because you're playing more of them. So we call it a onesie position, like a tight end or a quarterback. You just wait. Because guess what? There's only 10 or 12 you're using in the entire league. If someone goes down, Matt Stafford's sitting there on the waiver wire.
Yeah, and he's not even the best one.
No,
he's not even the best man up.
Exactly.
And he gets to throw to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Like he's doing just fine down there.
So no, you gotta wait. I'm okay if you want to call your shot, but you just have to understand what you're missing. Because if you go Lamar or Josh round 1, you could have taken Amon-Ra.
Yeah,
it's really hard to replace him. It's much easier to replace a quarterback.
You can get your number 1 quarterback if you want one of the big dogs. You want Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, maybe C.J. Stroud if you have them in that grouping, which I don't. If you want one of those big 4, you can get them 3rd round. Yeah. You might be able to get them 4th round because you need a big running back, a big wide receiver, or 2 stud wide receivers before you even think about getting a quarterback.
Yes, absolutely.
And just like Jared said, if you're in a 2-quarterback league, which my money league that I've been in forever, I got to show you this league during the commercial break.
Yeah,
Jared,
please.
You'll love it. You'll just eat it up. 2 quarterbacks, 4 flex, individual defensive players.
Oh, I love that.
It is gnarly. So like in a 2-quarterback league, you got to grab one of the big studs early. And then your second guy better be at least mid-tier, or you can just kiss the league.
And that's like a 3rd or 4th round pick is where you're going for a 2nd quarterback.
Exactly.
So that really gives you perspective of how quarterbacks are valued when there's only one of them.
And this year, I really like – I don't know how you have them ranked. I don't know what websites you prefer. But what I got right here in front of me is Fantasy Pros. Are you familiar with Fantasy Pros?
I love Fantasy Pros.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think it's a good middle ground.
Yeah, they do a lot of consensus rankings pull from a lot of different sites.
Exactly. Yeah, they pull from other sites and they smash these rankings together. So I think it's like a nice middle ground. If you trust another one better, go for it. Go crazy. But they got Josh Allen 1. I'll agree. Jalen Hurts 2. Maybe.
It's a rushing upside thing.
Yeah. Mahomes 3, Jackson 4. I like Zay, have Jackson higher, maybe 2 behind Allen. I could justify that. Then C.J. Stroud, then Anthony Richardson, then Kyler Murray. So these 3 right here, I mean, this is all rushing upside right here. Yeah, Anthony Richardson can run for 1,000 yards and pass for a couple thousand too. Same thing with Kyler Murray. So I don't really trust 5, 6, 7. If you wanted to reach up in the normal draft slot, get one of the big 4, 5, 6, 7, Stroud, Richardson, Murray, I think are a little bit too risky. I don't like that draft position for these. But I think it gets
Dak is insane.
It is. And it's just a rushing thing.
Yeah.
The Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud hype, I mean, we talked a little bit about him last week. It's crazy. Richardson's played 3 games, and he passes at like a 50% clip. He doesn't slide. He might get hurt.
Yeah.
He's a big boy, but I mean, you're taking him early. Why not get a guy who does the exact same thing in what Jay Daniels should be? So much later. And 5, 6 rounds later, I'm not arguing like 1 round here.
Sure.
We're talking a completely different draft strategy just around the quarterback position.
Hey, here's a really good one. How much does draft order matter, and where is the best spot? Like, is getting the first pick like a good thing, or is it like a curse?
Let's wrap up. I love that question. Do you want to dive into that next segment?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, but to put a bow on the quarterbacks, and we'll go to the break and then jump into this next topic. But I really like after 7, after Stroud, Richardson, and Murray, which are 2 risky plays that I don't like. You get into Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, and Tua.
You just named 4 guys, 5 guys.
Yeah.
Who can throw for 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns.
Yeah. And they're safe, and they're on good teams,
and
they'll be throwing touchdowns.
You
can set up all your starters, and you could get either 1 or 2 of these guys after you set your whole lineup. This is where I'm targeting quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I think we've really nailed it, but don't take a quarterback early. Just please don't do it. These guys are way too good. Brock Purdy can easily score just as many points as Patrick Mahomes on any given week.
Right.
We're talking game-changing draft capital.
Yeah,
3rd round versus.
You got to go week by week.
Yeah, I mean, they're not better. They're not more talented than those guys.
Yeah.
But it's so volatile. You can play matchups. Who's playing the Carolina Panthers this week?
Sure.
Who's got the worst? You'll learn after a couple weeks who has the worst defense. You can target them.
Yeah.
You can't do that with wide receivers. You're not picking up guys based on who they're playing.
Right. If I got Dak Prescott and he's going up against the Niners, and then I see Trevor Lawrence is on waivers going up against the Panthers, welcome to my team, Trev.
You're keeping Dak.
Yeah.
Like, the Niners are the same thing. Who's playing the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to get sacked. You could fumble. You're going to throw picks.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It gives you a position where you can avoid really, really good defense.
Yeah, and I'm too much of a fan. I'm guessing you probably also try to avoid drafting too many people from the same team. Like, you probably try to spread that out like evenly. Was 2 too many? 3 too many?
So I really like that you said that because we're on quarterbacks. If you have CeeDee Lamb, you absolutely should be targeting Dak Prescott.
100%.
You want so what we call that's a stack.
Yeah.
So if you drafted Michael Pittman, maybe we're going to Anthony Richardson. You're not and it works better for later quarterbacks. Say you got Puka. Let's go get Matt Stafford in the last round of the draft.
Gotcha.
It's harder when we're going back in the day when Stephon Diggs was the first round pick. You got to go Diggs round 2 and Allen, or Diggs round 1 and Allen round 2. That's a lot of investment in one team. But when you can space it out, that works way better. You're putting a lot of pressure on one team. Diggs goes down or Allen goes down, you're screwed. But if you draft Dak in round 8 and you have Lamb, if Dak goes down, you can get a different quarterback.
Okay.
We're talking draft position when we get back because they asked and we will answer. More fantasy talk when we get back. You're listening to 2 Men On, 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by FEMA. If you were impacted by the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon fire, you may be eligible for...
Mike's hot.
Back on the program for a quickie before we take you to the 5 o'clock hour. A little more fantasy talk. And, of course, we got the Isham Dental soundbite of the day coming up, as well as the 66 Diner Blue Plate Special moment. Before the break, Jared, Zay asked if draft position can determine your success in a fantasy draft. I have a short, quick answer, but I want to hear yours first.
So I know that you said, is the first pick bad luck? No, I would love to have the first pick. It's once you know where you're at, I don't think there's a bad spot. I do prefer to be, front 2 or back 2 of the round. I don't like the middle because you can get caught outside of what we call a positional run. You see 8 wide receivers go, and you're right in the middle of it, and you're like, I have to take one. If you're at the turns, meaning the beginning end of the round, you kind of dictate when those runs start. You can take 2 of the same. And if someone had taken a bunch of wide receivers before you, you can take 2 running backs and get it to switch up. So I don't personally have a preference. I guess I do. I'm not a huge fan of the middle of the rounds. But no, it kind of dictates your strategy, and it doesn't really affect when you take players. If you're picking first or last, you may have to take Josh Allen 10 picks early because he's not making it back to you.
Not coming back.
You might have to reach a little bit. But so if you're a Dak Prescott guy and you're in round 5 or 6, maybe you take him around early because he's your guy. So you take the guys you believe in. Don't take the risk of it trying to come back to you.
I mean, I think it's risk and reward, because if you're like 1 or 2 or 11 or 12 or 9 or 10, if you're in a 10-person league, I love having the ability to have 2 guys on my board and I get both of them at once. Yep. It's like, oh, those both are my guys. I'm getting them all at once. I ain't got to wait for them to come back. But then it's kind of like a curse, because you said there'll be position runs and you're like, oh, I got my 2 guys and I'll get a tight end next round. By the time you come back around, they're all gone.
No, you can have, if you're picking and there's, 20 or 24 picks in between your selections, there may be 8 tight ends, 8 quarterbacks who just went off and back to you.
Opposite of what you said, I kind of do like being right in the middle, as long as it's middle. Because after the first 2 rounds, that's when people start dropping.
Yeah.
And you can get that super big value because you got 10, 11, 12 spots in between picks. And somebody with a higher value drops down to you, you can swoop them up.
Absolutely.
When we get back, it's our Isham Dental soundbite of the day. A sprinkle more fantasy talk, and we'll bring Steve back to the program. We're going to welcome Steve Palmisano back as we're going to wrap our fantasy. Top of the hour when we get back. 2 men on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Clear.
Music Fiesta, Saturday, October 12th at Balloon Fiesta with Kyle Martin, Lil Cash, and Carly Pierce. Tickets available at balloonfiesta.com.
Top of the hour is only when it matters. So
Southbound congestion, I-25 between Osuna and Montaño, and at the I-25 interchange in both directions. Backups on Alameda Boulevard for drivers headed east or westbound between Rio Grande and Edith Boulevard, and delays for drivers headed south on Forest Boulevard towards Montaño Road.
This report is sponsored by Staples Store. With Staples Hot Deals, you'll find super low prices on hundreds of items for back to school, including tech. Right now, get up to $300 off select PCs at Staples.
Let me show you.
Save even more with the Staples Easy Rewards program. Offer ends 8/31. Save big on back to school at Staples.
This is Jim Rome with your Rome Report. I've got to give the old man credit. Jerry Jones, credit for this much. At least he finally did something, which was a major departure from a giant mountain of nothing, which he did all offseason. Nothing except say that he's all in over and over and over again. Apparently, all in means waiting until the very last minute to pay your best offensive player. Not like he had all that much of a choice, right? Exactly. What is the point of the Cowboys going into this season without their best offensive player, CeeDee Lamb? How are they supposed to evaluate Dak contract year or Big Mike's big fat lame duck year if CeeDee wasn't there? How are they supposed to actually win any playoff game without CeeDee when they couldn't win one with him?
No, I ordered
I'm getting at here? Jared did nothing special yesterday. He actually did the bare minimum and barely in time.
Zay, we'll do the Jameis.
What's your favorite team is the sports bar at Sandia Resort and Casino. Don't miss 1 minute of the action. With over 50 screens, every seat is a front row seat. All your favorites are on tap. Best of city menu and the best view of the majestic Sandias in the city. Where's the best place to watch sports in Albuquerque? The sports bar at Sandia Resort and Casino. Close to home, far from ordinary.
You see they put Nick Chubb on the pod?
Of reasons you might consider selling your home. To move closer to family, live within a smaller budget, or just wanting a change of scenery. Whatever your reasons, having to figure out all the various housing market trends.
So IDP.
No, that's way too many defensive players.
That's where an agent who is a realtor
Is it
comes
9?
in.
8?
A realtor has the expertise to help you find the
two
right
inning
price
defense.
and
Yeah.
the process to sell your
Two
team.
defensive ends, 2 linebackers,
That's
two
insane.
defensive backs. Yeah.
Realtors
So
are
the
members of
IDPs,
National
the way I have them
Association of
stacked, are kind of like half-ish
Hey, I'll take
an offensive player.
Oh,
Not quarterback. So
good.
IDP, a good week for IDP will be about half-ish of a good week. Touchdowns notwithstanding, but like I have it ranked to be like the bonus part of the lineup. Not like if a guy gets like 5 sacks and a pick.
Yeah, we're just 30 points and then you win your league.
No, it's going to be like 10 or 12.
It's the perfect blend of flavor and heat. Frank's Red Hot, high potential on everything.
Is this your only league?
KG40BL
no,
Albuquerque
we
is
have
95.9
three.
FM, AM 610 KNML
Dude, this
Albuquerque.
is
It's wild, right?
Proud to be a Cumulus media
that might be
station.
that's outside. I have one league that has 3.
2 Men On with your hosts, Van Nunley and Fred Slow, with producer Isaiah Johnson on 95.9 FM and AM 610. The Sports Animal.
Like hot.
Welcome back to the program, Duke City. Welcome back to 2 Men On, 95.9 FM and AM 610, The Sports Animal. 1 hour in the books, 1 hour to go. Had a lot of fun talking fantasy with Jared Gay in the first hour. Before we hand it over to Josh Sushan in the 545 segment, you're going to give us your special list. Every year, you and your brother Simon, both, may I say, fantasy experts, obviously 2 Men On's fantasy insiders. You have the Gay Boy list, which is your last name, not indicative of any lifestyle choices.
For myself or these players.
Correct.
We will mention. So
we'll hit you that at 5:30. Top of the hour, we're going to come in hot with the Isham Dental soundbite of the day. IshamDentalABQ.com, same-day dentures, walk-in. You can just put your name and your email. Put your name and your phone number on the website. They'll set you up with an appointment. Anything you need. Look, if they can't do it, they'll send you to whoever absolutely can. Check out IshamDentalABQ.com. Scott Isham is a dude, and he'll take care of you. Say, Isham Dental soundbite of the day.
Okay, so I know you boys, you're coming through PC here, and it actually played from PC, so you weren't able to catch that.
No, thanks for that. Luckily, I listened to it earlier. Thank you for submitting that soundbite. And you're really playing into what I love about professional athlete is the guy who plays with passion. By the way, if you didn't know who that was, that's obviously Jameis Winston rallying his squad around like no one else besides him can do. A guy like Jameis Winston, which I think fell a little bit short of expectations as a starting quarterback in the NFL. One thing he always was fun to watch and especially fun to listen to. Pre-game speeches, the best. Post-game interviews, the best. Mm-hmm. He's a huge personality, and except for doing some dumb stuff in college, has been scandal-free his whole career. One of the nicest dudes ever. One of the best teammates ever. And, like, if you know you have a better quarterback on your team than Jameis Winston, you're probably in good shape. And if you know you have a better quarterback on your team than Jameis Winston, he can just be the chief of vibes.
We need to see him and Keon Coleman on the same team.
Oh, give me all you got, dude.
I like his CC's Pizza reference there. And I feel like as a player, pre-game, I'm usually not trying to be in a joking mood, but that would have got me to crack a little bit. But you see the guys around him, they're all like bobbing their head, like really remembering the moments that he's talking about. So I really wonder what it's like in the locker room, because none of them seem to find it funny. But I feel like anybody else listening is like, we're not trying to think of CC's Pizza before we go out and play a football game. And plus, we went to CC's. We always went to like Buffalo Wild Wings or Hooters or something. We didn't go to CC's Pizza after football practice or a win.
I think that's a good place. You get a lot of calories for cheap at CC's Pizza.
It's a smart idea. Maybe we weren't as smart.
Sure. Jameis Winston is a quote factory, and he has been his whole career. We could do a whole week's worth of programs on just Jameis Winston moments. Even though he didn't pan out to be the quarterback everyone thought he was going to be, he panned out to be way better than the person that we thought he was coming out of college, and that is absolutely sweet. Jared, in your playing career, did you ever have that one guy, whether it's like the clown on the team that was always there to lighten up the mood, and whether it was like actually inspirational, like you had somebody to at least take the pressure off of what you're doing on the field?
Yeah, and it, kind of how we were talking about Manny Ramirez earlier, it tended to be a lot of the Latin guys. We had a Puerto Rican guy, and he was so funny, such a good player, and always joking around. But when it came down to it, he was serious. And yeah, I usually had a couple guys on our teams who, maybe to a fault were maybe a little too ridiculous. But it definitely lightens the mood when, especially a sport like baseball, where it can be a dark place when you're not hitting well. It's not just football where you're successful most of the time if you're good. Baseball's hard. It's a game of failure. So yeah, having guys like that definitely helps.
Zay, did you always have a guy like that playing with you?
Yeah.
Football is like, it's weird to get away with on the gridiron because it's so serious and you're smashing your heads into each other, and you have to have this killer instinct, this gladiator kind of focus on the game. So like joy and laughter aren't always present in that sport.
So a lot of things go into it. It's like the type of game, because you watch film on the team. So it's like if you're getting ready to go against a team that could be dirty or is like hard hitters, or if your matchup's about to be insane, a lot of times you're more locked in. But if your team's going to like steamroll some guys and you guys are like for sure going to win, then it's usually more loose. Me personally, I always like to think I'm logical, at least in life. Like, I don't think I'm just the biggest, baddest thing anywhere. So when it came to the football field, there's some guys who felt like they could go out there and be invincible, and they could just get themselves to get in this mentality where it's like nothing can hurt me and I can go out and be, an Iron Man. Whereas me, I was very realistic, and I'm sure injuries had a lot to do with that. But before the game, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to make sure I'm alert, but I'm going to make sure I don't get hit here. I'm going to make sure I keep my head on a swivel. I'm going to make sure, like, if I'm going to dive and make a tackle, make sure I land right. Like, I was starting to think about my body a lot more, especially in college. Like, I'm going to try to do the best I can, but I want to do it without getting hurt. Where some guys are like, I'll die on the field. I was never one of those guys. Like, I'm on the field looking around like, I'm not going to get embarrassed, number one. So no one's going to just smack me in the side, but I'm also not going to get hurt out here.
When I was playing, no matter what sport it was, there was always that guy to bring a little levity, to try to make his teammates laugh, to try to have some fun in the dugout or the locker room. And that guy was me. And I never took anything seriously, and I wasted so much potential, and I'm a shell of the person I should have been, because I'm Johnny on the spot, good time, cracking jokes and doing voices and trying to have fun when I should have took it more seriously. Just a big old pile of wasted potential.
I was going to say, most of the time the clowns are the clowns on the team, and they're generally not in the starting rotation.
Well, he was, and not for long when I cracked off at the mouth too much.
My experience is that baseball players are full of like just guys that want to have a good time.
Sure.
And I remember I worked in Great Falls, Montana for one season. That's the single A team for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And those guys were always out on the town.
Nice.
Always having a good time. But there's a lot of them that made it through. I was there right before Pedro came through there, Martinez, and then he ended up, obviously coming through Albuquerque and going on in the, Hall of Fame. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like baseball players have a lot more fun than maybe football players or NHL or the other pro sports.
Yeah, and you see it a lot with pitchers.
Yeah,
probably same thing.
Yeah.
Or a reliever.
Yeah,
throws one inning every 3 days.
Yeah.
Those guys, man, these guys are whack jobs. I played with a lot of weird pitchers, man, and you see it in the movies too, where like, what's wrong with that guy? Like, he's a pitcher.
He's a pitcher.
And guess what? He's a lefty too. It makes him even more weird.
Yeah, for sure. If you're like if you know nothing about baseball culture and you just said, "Oh no, it's okay, he's a pitcher," they're like, "What does that mean?" But if you are familiar with baseball culture, you're like, "Oh, say less."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And another thing I've noticed, I don't know if it's the same for baseball and other sports as well, but in football, it's almost like Steve said a lot of times the clowns are the ones who aren't as good. But I feel like it's either that or it's usually like one of the best people on the team because they're a lot more loose and I don't know if it's because they understand that, the team is relying on them, but you're also like, you're so happy because you're talented and you're expecting to have a good game and you like the feeling of being the guy. So just football as a whole, you're so happy to be there and you enjoy playing so much that, you don't really look at it as being nervous. You're really just more so having fun with it. Whereas if you're not as good, you're just focused on trying to get better and like trying to keep your position. So you're more locked in. The guys that have their job security, they're like loose before the game. Like, all right, well, I do want to do good, but it's not like I'm going to not be a starter if I do bad. A lot less pressure on them.
Little job security will make it more fun.
Oh, that helps
yes.
too. Yeah. There's a psychological element to it too. Like, how when people are scared, they sometimes laugh. Like they laugh uncontrollably. Have you seen somebody who's afraid of heights climbing up a ladder and they're laughing the whole way?
Yeah.
Like it's a psychological reaction to your fear, your stress, your anxiety. So when I was trying to have fun and crack jokes, there was a piece of me who was trying to take the pressure off me for the next at bat. Like I'm not doing this for you guys. I'm doing it for me. This makes me feel better. This makes me feel more comfortable. I play better when I'm having a good time and I'm laughing.
Yeah, it reminds me of Manny Ramirez, like you guys were talking about when he was always loose.
Sure.
He used to go into the Green Monster or something in between the innings and just hang out with the guys that were keeping score back there. And just doing crazy things, and then he'd come up and hit a dinger against the Yankees at the most crucial time.
There were a lot of those dingers against the Yankees.
Unfortunately.
But good for you, Steve. Good for you, Jared. We're going to talk about dingers from the Yankees when we get back. After the break, we're going to talk about our 66 Diner Blue Plate Special Moment of the Day. When we get back, dingers, baby. Dingers. You're listening to 2 Men On, 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. Welcome back, friend of the show. You're listening to Two Men On. Of course, we're on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal. Jared, you like to represent 66 Diner. You go in there, you get some, you walk out with a little handful of Pez after you go get some huevos rancheros and a milkshake.
Absolutely.
66 Diner, stop in today for lunch or dinner, enjoy the ambiance and get a taste of the good old days. You get like traditional diner food, like old school. They still carry liver and onions. They still got fried okra, but it's also got some like modern favorites too, burgers, New Mexican food, and the best milkshakes in town. With that being said, we're going to hit you boys with the 66 Diner Blue Plate Special Moment of the Day. Aaron Judge hitting 50 and 51.
Barely swung at that first.
If it wasn't for Shohei Ohtani, this guy would be the best player in baseball. Yankees stud slugger Aaron Judge hitting his 50th and 51st home runs in the same game, on pace to break his own AL home run record. Two Yankee fans sitting across from me right now. How good does it feel having the Judge on your squad?
I mean, he's unbelievable. And if he started with a better month of April, he'd be on pace for 70, 75. So if he breaks his own record, I mean, come on. And I don't know, I'd take him over Shohei right now. Granted, Ohtani doesn't pitch, but I think Judge is the best hitter in the game. And it's nice that we also have the second best hitter in the game in Juan Soto.
You guys are forgetting about Shohei Ohtani, pitching or not pitching. This guy just went
Who is that again?
40-40 club. I don't understand how a guy who's 6'7", 280 pounds, can hit the ball 500 feet, lasts to the 32nd pick in the draft. The Major League Baseball should be ashamed of themselves for letting Aaron Judge get all the way that deep into the first round and go to the Yankees of all teams.
Yeah. No, it's amazing what he's doing, and I'm. It feels like he's heating up, so he may get close again this year.
Yeah, and you're talking about that slump he started with. Like, people are like, oh, last year was a fluke. Like, he's not that dude anymore. He was just on a heater. And he was like, no, hold on. Hold my gavel. Let me show you what's about to happen, Major League Baseball.
I did not know this guy was 6'7", 280.
That was when he was drafted. He's probably 6'8", to 467 now.
I mean, he hit sub 200 with like 4 home runs in April. And literally, I had the same thought. I'm like, what is going on? Good thing we have Juan Soto, because Judge is not doing well at all. So, no, he's unbelievable. And he wasn't, when he lasted that long in the draft, he struck out a lot in college. He struck out a lot in the minors. When he came up, he was not ready. And so it wasn't like this, the Jackson Holiday, you're 20 and you're in the bigs. Like, it took Judge a long time. You watch his swing from his debut where he hit a home run to now. He had this whip in his swing. He had a leg kick. It's completely different. He has worked at it, and it's a lot of failures. I mean, that's why he's in games played fastest guy to get 300. But he has 30 or 31.
Yeah,
32 maybe. So,
late start compared to most Major League Baseball.
I think he went to Fresno State, didn't he?
I know he was at Long Beach.
He was in
there as well.
Mountain West. He came through here, played a few times here at UNM or against UNM.
Oh wow!
And Birmingham said he never hit home runs like this. never was the guy.
There's very few people in Major League Baseball. Historically, it's hard to get good data on them, but like when you hit the ball, it sounds different. Like the first guy that I really noticed doing that was I was playing some like summer AAU stuff, and we're talking to like a group of dudes, and they're like, "Do you know who Josh Hamilton is?" And I was like, "Nah, man, whatever." He's like, "Come watch this." And then just the crack that his bat made was louder, it was cleaner, it was sexier than anybody else I've ever heard in my life. And it's the same thing with Aaron Judge. When he's like, microphones on the field notwithstanding, but his bat, it just sounds different when he hits it.
Yeah. And he's playing in the field too. He made a killer catch the other day.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's just an all-around player. And Shohei being the best in baseball, I don't know. I think Judge it's a tough one.
I mean, and if you're counting, walks and like clutch hitting, Juan Soto's right there. I think if you don't want to like compare Shohei, which I think he's not only the best in baseball, he's the best ever. If you don't want to compare Shohei, Yankees have, congratulations, the Royals, Bobby Jr., congratulations the season Gunnar Henderson's putting together. But I think it's unquestionably Judge 1, Soto 2 in the American League this year.
Absolutely. And if the Yankees don't pay him, I mean, someone's going to. They're getting arguably one of the best players in the league. And like you said, Witt, Henderson, fantastic. But the Judge-Soto combo needs to be in New York for the next 6 to 7 years.
It feels like Soto coming in has relaxed Judge a little bit this year, especially like not starting strong. He wasn't going to press. He didn't have to press.
The Yankees were still winning.
Yeah.
All right, friends of the show, you need your cheat codes for your fantasy draft coming up this weekend or next week. It's time to hear about the Gay Boys, a highly cultivated list that we're going to drop on you when we get back. This is the best of the best. Draft position, team, role. We're going to tell you why these are the best players to target in your fantasy draft. This is your last chance to listen to the cheat code. That is our fantasy insider, Jared Gay, when we get back. And he's going to tell you who to target in your draft. When we get back, talking more fantasy. 2 Men On, 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report.
Duke City, welcome back, baby. 2 Men On, 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. To all the viewers on the interwebs, whether you're watching from Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or however you're doing this, whether it's right now live or you're watching in the future on Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. We're at Talk ABQ wherever you go, or you can just check out 2 Men On. By the way, if you're watching today, sorry that you can't see Steve Palmisano's beautiful face. I know it's the highlight of this program, getting to stare, just gaze at those gorgeous eyes.
Correct.
Yeah, Jared was going to call in today. I was like, but Steve's here. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'm back.
I'm on my way.
I'm back. I'm back. All right, Jared, it's time to give the friend of the show some hints. Give them some suggestions. Give them that inside info that they don't know they needed, but now you're going to help them win their fantasy league. It's time for the 2024 edition of The Gay Boys.
It still makes me laugh. I've been hearing my last name for 27 years. And it's still fun. So, so these are guys that Simon and I.
Is this in no particular order? This is the one you feel strongest about?
No, I'm going to give you 6 guys. None of them are. They're all in different areas of the draft.
Okay.
I'm going to start with the highest guy I have ranked. Of course, this is not me take these guys first. That's not what this is meant for. This is where they're getting drafted, who's around them.
Okay.
There is very low chance that they don't work out.
Okay. I
and
like this.
They're key pieces to your team. They're going to outperform where they're getting drafted, bearing an injury. Given their current situation, they're guys you need to target. You have to reach a little bit, which I think the first guy is a good one for this exact thing. So the first of the 6 2024 Gay Boys is someone we've talked about quite a bit, actually. It's going to be Baltimore Ravens running back Derrick Henry.
Love it.
So currently going at pick 20, and you just look around those guys. I mean, Van, I'll tell you, just without looking at anything, you want Derrick Henry this year, you want Kyron Williams?
Oh, 100% want Derrick Henry.
And right now, Kyron's going far higher than him. You can even argue injury-prone Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry. That's right where it needs to be. But he's getting drafted later. Derrick Henry will go for 1,200, 1,300 yards easily. He's on a winning team. The Ravens are going to win the division. And when he's in a winning game, he averages 20 fantasy points. That's average. He easily can go run for 15 touchdowns. He could score every single game. Lamar might run a little bit less because he's got the Yeti. He's got Derrick Henry running the ball.
Yeah.
So,
and especially on the goal line, you don't have to slam your quarterback up against the defensive line that knows you're trying to run for a touchdown when you have Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
So I think the pressure is going to be off of him because his workload might not be as high as Tennessee, but the opportunity and the teammates are going to be significantly better.
Yeah, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins gone. There's no one. They knew they had him. He may get the ball more than ever. It probably won't happen, but that's in the realm of possibilities for him. He's fantastic. He's healthy. He's got to be pumped to be on the best team he's ever been on.
I mean, the Ravens are
unbelievable. They could win the Super Bowl. We all know that. Henry's going to have a fantastic year, and he's absolutely someone you need to target in round 2, and he's going at the end of it. So if you're picking middle of the round and you need a running back because you grab Jamar Chase in round 1, there's nothing wrong with going Derrick Henry in round 2.
And I think he could just as easily, like anyone except for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Derrick Henry could put up number 2 running back fantasy numbers.
Absolutely. So I'll shift to the next one, and another running back, someone a little bit in the same age, actually. So the next one is going to be New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara. Oh, great. So I
draft morally. Miss me with Kamara. Miss me with Deshaun Watson.
Okay, fair. Well, I don't care what his morals are. He's a gay boy this year, so he's gonna be on our team. End of the 5th round, a pass catching running back. I know they drafted Kendre Miller. He's been an absolute disappointment in camp and in the preseason. So Kamara's going to get the ball. He's going to be fantastic. This is why you go wide receiver early and why you wait on quarterbacks, because these middle round running backs are going to perform. He catches the ball. He could catch it 70, 80 times, and he's going to score touchdowns. He's very talented, and I just think he's going to do very, very well this year.
I agree. Like I said, I draft morally. I don't want to be attached to some of these garbage humans that have slid their way past getting in trouble in the court of law, but they're still in trouble in the court of public opinion. If you want some cheap fantasy points, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah. So The next one, and I'm probably going to get yelled at for this being a homer pick. Simon and I are both big Bills fans, originally from New York.
Okay.
So the next one is Buffalo Bills tight end Dalton Kincaid.
Strong.
And
Big
this
year.
is really just there's no chance the Bills are going to win the division. I am, of course, very biased, but Keon Coleman's not going to be the number one. It's not Khalil Shakir. Dalton Kincaid easily could go for 100 catches for 1,000 yards, and at a tight end position in round 5 or 6, that is unbelievable. I mean, he could be the number one. He's now in the Travis Kelce role of what the Bills' offense need.
Yeah.
He's the guy. So, and he's young, incredible hands. First round pick last year, had a fantastic rookie season, and rookie tight ends don't typically do that well.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm super excited as a fan, but for fantasy, unfortunately, in my main league, he's capped by another Bills fan, so I can't go for him. But I think he's a fantastic pick, and he's going to do really well.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like, Allen spreads it around,
Yep.
and especially with all those vacated targets of Stephon Diggs, he's going to get even more opportunities. And just like we talked about with Derrick Henry, like at the goal line trying to save Lamar Jackson, he puts your team in a position to quit running Josh Allen right up the middle and getting smashed over and over again. So I really do like this. You get to go a little more end zone looks with this guy instead of smashing Josh Allen down the middle. So I think it's a great pick, and I really like the value where it is. Even though he already had a good season, the value's still there.
Yeah, he very easily could outperform his expected draft spot. So the next two I'm going to tie in together because they play for the same team. And it's even more so because the other receiver just got traded. So it's going to be Washington Commander players, Terry McLaurin going in the 7th round, and quarterback Jaden Daniels going in the 12th. And with Jahan Dotson getting shipped away with a new quarterback, Terry McLaurin has been as consistent as it gets. It may be a little disappointing because he's not the flashiest player, but he is consistently a top 20 wide receiver in fantasy with, brutal quarterback play in Washington for a long time. So they have to be pumped having former Heisman winner Jaden Daniels there. And, Terry's going around guys like Christian Kirk and Rome Odunze and Rashee Rice. And I get it. Those guys have a little bit of excitement, but to be the number one receiver on a team that has a lot of potential this year, I really like him being picked there. And then Jaden Daniels, he very well could be just like Lamar Jackson. And that's why we tell people to wait on quarterbacks. He's going in round 12. Once you get outside around 8 or 9, we call these players free.
Sure.
No guy in round 11 is going to ruin your team. That's why Jaden Daniels goes down week 1. Go pick up a different quarterback. That's fine, but that's not going to happen. He's so talented. That new coach, the team's going to be fantastic. So, no, I'm really excited for both those guys.
And people don't know that Jaden Daniels, elite speed. It's him and Lamar Jackson, and that's it. Anthony Richardson, he can run, he can go. Kyler Murray, he can run, he can go. But Jaden Daniels, 99 speed. Like, he will walk in and be the fastest quarterback in the NFL, faster than Lamar Jackson. People see his college pedigree, and they're like, oh, he can scramble, he can get around. Straight up burner on the field. He is legit fast. I see him getting 1,000 rushing yards. The passing, that's TBD.
He doesn't even need to pass well. If he runs for 1,000, if a running back goes for 1,000, he's fantastic. If you run for 1,000, that means you're pushing 7-8 rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
You're good just like that. That's 20 a week. And now we're talking about, hey, maybe he's a decent passer. Maybe he's average. Who knows? Maybe he's a superstar. So I like him a lot.
And then even if the passing results aren't great, the volume is going to be there. Because I agree with you. I like TD Terry, like right where he is, because they're just going to keep chucking it up to him no matter what. Because he's going to get comfortable. He's going to keep throwing it up to his number one wide receiver. Game plan be damned. He's going to feed Terry no matter what. And I don't think they're a good football team. So guess what they're going to be doing?
Losing.
Getting a lot of garbage time points in that fourth quarter for him and Terry McLaurin. I like those. Do you have any more?
I got one more real quick.
All right,
one more quarterback. Someone we've already talked about, but the last guy is going to be in round 8, Green Bay Packer, Jordan Love. So a guy who easily can go. I see people pick him as the MVP this year in football. He was the number one quarterback in the second half of the year last year.
Beat me to that fact.
If he's number one last year, you're thinking, oh, he's going right around Lamar. Let's go round 4. CJ Stroud, 40, pick 4. No, Jordan Love's going to pick 80. You're getting him for way later. Your team's already established. There's no risk there taking him. And it took him a while to, from Utah State, Mountain West, very raw talent. He's a stud. I think he's going to do really well this year.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like you said, the number one quarterback in the second half of the NFL last year. But what do you say to Cowboys fans like Steve and Zay, who still have PTSD from that playoff game and will never draft Jordan Love?
Well, I'm going to add to it. Dez did not catch the ball. So I'm just saying, go ahead.
I don't know what playoff game you're talking about.
Which one? You already shut it out of your brain?
Yep.
To add on that, those are all great suggestions. I agree completely with every single one of those, Jared. I got 2 for you. One, I've drafted every single league. I make sure to get them every time. If you're drafting with me and you're listening right now and you're listening and we are in the same league together, I will go after this guy. You have to get him early. That's Jaleel McLaughlin, third stringer right now on the Denver Broncos. Pro Fantasy Focus, if you count a limited snaps, he's the number 6 rated running back on Pro Football Focus. Jaleel McLaughlin, maybe 3rd week, maybe 4th week. He will be the starter for the Denver Broncos. He will be cheap. You can take him at your last pick, but you better not take him in the last pick in my league because I will have him way earlier than that. And a wide receiver that I'm targeting in every round a little bit earlier. I'll probably take this guy around maybe 2 rounds early, and that's Brian Thomas Jr. of the Jags. The Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, they finally got him some protection. They haven't got him enough upper-level talented wide receiver help. They overpaid for Christian Kirk. He's not that guy. Trevor Lawrence has been playing his whole career, never had that guy. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is that guy. There's more vacated targets on the Jags than any team. That ball's got to go somewhere. I think it's going to Brian Thomas Jr., and I think he can be, over Odunze, the number 2 rookie wide receiver behind Marvin Harrison Jr., and you could get him 11 rounds later.
No, I love that. And you nailed it. I mean, they've been patchworking that receiving core the whole time. Calvin Ridley for a year, and now they got Gabe Davis. I mean, you finally invested something first-round draft capital into a very talented player, good quarterback, good team. I love it. And Jaleel McLaughlin, I appreciate you picking someone who's going really late because I went with guys.
He might be undrafted. You could put somebody on the IR and then pick this guy up later.
They thought Javonte Williams was going to get cut.
Yeah.
That means they believe in Jaleel McLaughlin.
They do.
So he's going to get the ball. I totally like both.
I think he'll be the starter 3rd or 4th week.
I love it.
Agree completely. Jared Gay, you crushed it today with your fantasy preview. Friends of the show, hope you win all of your leagues with Jared's advice. And if not, guess what? 505-246-0610. Talk smack about Jared and all the advice that he gave you today. When we get back, voice of the Isotopes, Josh Sushan, have a little talk about Isotopes baseball, and he tells you where you can hear Isotopes baseball tonight, because right after us, we go to Lobo Talk with voice of the Lobos, Rob Portnoy. When we get back, Sush. You listen to 2 Men On, 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by Bet.
City. One more segment before we hand it off to Voice of the Lobos, Rob Portnoy and Lobo Talk. And look, you're in a very unique position right here, friend of the show. You're in a very unique position right here, sports fan, because you can do a little flippy boy in between the two sexiest voices in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You go right here, 95.9 FM, and then you go back to 94.5, and you just go back and forth. You're AM guy, fine. You go 6:10 a.m., you go back to 10:50, you go back to 6:10. You have a smorgasbord of sports talk for the next couple hours here on The Animal. And to tell you all about it, how we're doing it, and where you listen is Voice of the Isotopes, Josh Sushan. Sush, welcome back to town.
Thank you. It is very good to be home after 2 long weeks in Texas. I appreciate that introduction. But I do want to know, like, if Robert Portnoy and I are the two sexiest voice, who's 1A and who's 1B?
Oh, my goodness. You're going to make me say it, aren't you?
Yep, sure am.
It's Steve Stucker. Steve Stucker is actually the real answer. You know he is. He's the best to ever do it, and you guys are hacks. And you should probably leave the country in disgrace.
Oh, man, that turned quickly.
It's your fault. You asked me. What did you think I was going to say?
Well, it's very much tracking, but still, sometimes the harsh truth is the truth you need to hear in your life.
Okay. Real answer, Joe Traub. Sush had a little sprinkle in here in Nob Hill, and it blew over.
Oh.
I fear that was enough sexy talk. You don't want people like crashing on the highways. You want people focused on the roads as they're driving home and settling in for their night of Albuquerque sports. So yeah, Rob's got Lobo Talk coming up at the top of the hour until 7. And so we'll put the Isotopes on our sister station, which, as you mentioned, 94.5 The Pit, 1050 KTBL. I think fans know by now, but we like to remind them that if the game's not on the Sports Animal, it's on 1050 KTBL or 94.5. So we have conflicts off and on. We're going to continue to have a lot more, whether it's Lobo Talk, Thursday night football, Sunday football, Monday night football. Apparently the NFL is doing Friday night football to start the season. So I guess the NFL will not be content until they take over every single day of the week, apparently. But basically, whenever the Isotopes are not on the Sports Animal, you can find us on 94.5 The Pit and 1050 KTBL.
See, I knew, I don't know if you know this, but 1050 used to be the old home of the Sports Animal, and I would not have known that otherwise if it wasn't for this really cool, giant, life-size wall poster of a Dukes game, and right in dead center field, I see 1050 KNML, the Sports Animal. So
so this is the first time that I'm hearing this as well. So I'm very excited to hear all of this.
Well, I mean, it's way before both of our times here in Albuquerque.
Yeah, but yeah, so I mean, look, we've reached that time of the year where it's just super exciting to be a sports fan because you've got baseball pennant races, you've got college football's underway, the NFL is about to kick off, basketball's around the corner, high school football, like all of that. Like this is my favorite time of year as a sports fan, and so it creates a lot of like scheduling quirks that we figure out, which is not that big a deal. So the games are going to be on somewhere. If people go to the website, they can always just go there, and if you click the listen live button, it's always going to be there, and we have it set up regardless of whether it's the Sports Animal or whether it's on KTBL. The link gets changed, so all you have to do is press the button when you go to the listen live on the website.
Seriously, we had a little sprinkle here in Nob Hill. I'm at the Duke's team store in the Nob Hill Shopping Center. Is it clear on your side of town? Because I see a little sprinkle, but I also see blue skies as far as the eye can see.
So that is a very good segue to what I was going to say next, which was if we start on time. So right now, the tarp has covered the field. It is nailed down and all like good to go. The field is ready underneath the tarp, but it is very overcast, very windy. Smells like rain right now. We're not getting any rain. I cannot see the Sandias. I cannot see Nob Hill. I cannot see Carlisle Boulevard from here. But if I look down the left field line, I see some blue skies and I see some light gray. But when I look to center and when I look to right, it is thick and dark out there. And I was just informed we will not be starting tonight's game on time. We will be starting the game in a weather delay. So as soon as we can get the game started, we will, but we will not be starting tonight's game on time.
All right, Sushan, you heard it from there. 94.5 and 1050 is where you get the Isotopes tonight. When we leave you here, Rob Portnoy and Lobo talking some Lobo sports. Sushan, you're the best. Have a call tonight.
Thank you very much. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Yes, you will. Special thanks to Jared Gay, our fantasy insider. Hell of a show today. Zay, he's like a genius.
Yeah,
like a wizard. You can't put anything past that guy.
Yeah, he's a natural.
Zay, good job today. Appreciate the help, and I hope you win your fantasy league because of Steve.
Of course, I will. It's all because of Steve.
Friend of the show, get out to Isotopes Park. If you're not there at Isotopes Park, stay right here and check out Lobo Talk with Rob Portnoy. We'll see you tomorrow at Duke City Cages. You have a day. We love you, Burke.